So hello and welcome back to this little project I'm doing. Now, in the last video on my low distortion sine wave generator, I was showing the different readings I was getting on the two instruments I have here, the Keithley and the HP 8903, and who knows which is more accurate. But in my quest for perfection, the quest for the Holy Grail in low distortion sine wave oscillators, I think I've done fairly well so far with what I've got available. If you remember, I was using the TL074 and getting some fairly good results with that. So what I decided to do was, let's just have a look at the results I'm getting there. If we go up to the HP, 0.0011% distortion, which is a fair bit lower than its internal source. But if we compare it again, like I did last time, bang the microphone, why not? I'm getting 0.004. Oh, I can get more digits. 0.04845, as I was getting last time in the last video. And I was really surprised on that last video I did a few days ago how amazingly popular it was. I'm a fairly small channel. I don't expect to get massive viewing figures, and it's a fairly niche subject, isn't it? Total harmonic distortion. But within 24 hours I'd had over 350 views, when I would normally expect to get maybe 100 at the most. And I really didn't expect that video would get hardly any interest in it. And also I'd like to thank all the people that commented. Very interesting comments, which I've taken on board and tried to learn more with my limited knowledge of this subject. So what we're going to do today, having at last received a new chip through the post, and this is, I don't know if you can see, no it won't do that. Anyway, it's by Burr Brown and it's an OPA 4134 ultra low distortion quad op amp to replace the TL074. Okay, well, when we're on the subject of the specifications, let's have a look, see how they compare. I'm going to turn my box off because it runs on batteries for the time being. Right, if we look at the TL074, which I'm using, pointer, oh dear, we look at total harmonic distortion, 0.003%. Okay, you say. Let's have a look at the the new opamp, which is a Texas Instruments download, but it's the same device. Ultra low distortion, 0.00008. So really we've got an improvement by a couple of zeros, or whatever that means. So I'm not sure if it's going to be worth replacing, but it would be interesting to see. By the way, it was so difficult finding a decent op-amp, low distortion op-amp. I was going for data sheets for op-amps. I found one that looked good. I went on to trying to find some suppliers. DigiKey, Mouser would sell me one, £8 something. Fine, I don't mind paying £8 for ultra low distortion op-amp. Seems a fair price. But when you go to check out, delivery charge, £12 on something that's so small, you know, like that. £12 delivery charge. I know it's FedEx next day, but couldn't they just post it first class, Royal Mail? I know they don't do things like that. In the end, it would have cost me £24 for one little chip that cost £8 basically, with the VAT and everything on top. So with my limited budget, I was not going to spend that, so I went back to researching op-amps again, and I came across the one I'm going to use now. And again, it was hard to find it for a reasonable price. I went on eBay in the end. You get the usual Chinese sellers who may or may not have one, and it may or may not be a fake. And then I found a UK supplier, and apparently these are obsolete devices now, but he had a whole collection of them, and selling them for £6 roughly. Well, I thought that's fine. The only problem then was it took just a week for it to come. But I guess anticipation is part of the excitement, isn't it, with something like this? Anyway, it's come now, and I would guess it's pretty likely to be genuine. He said they were new old stock or something. So, and he sold quite a few and got positive feedback from people who bought them. So what I propose is pulling all this apart. I don't think it's wise to try and get that 14-pin chip out the way I've got it soldered in now. I think the whole board's going to have to come out of the box. And then what I want to do is, rather than solder the new one in, is put a socket in, 14-pin socket. So in the unlikely event the OPA 4134 is worse, at least I can put the TLO 74 back in. So this is going to be a long and tedious process. So I won't bore you with that. I'll come back to you when I've got the whole thing apart and the socket soldered in and ready to test again. Okay, new chip is installed with socket. A bit of trouble with the socket. I think that socket is probably 40 years old. The bloody legs were oxidised, weren't they? So I had to scrape every little pin on the socket till I could get some solder to stick. So chips installed, because it's time for takeoff. What have I got wired up? I've got a scope wired up, I've got the audio analyzer HP wired up. Let's turn the power on then. Right, wait for it to settle. And it's stable and drawing 8 milliamps on each supply. Up to the audio analyzer. Wow. Oh, please don't keep moving. Right, stay. So, that looks fairly awful compared to the last chip. But I think I know why. For some unknown reason, it doesn't like me having a scope connected to it. Or the scope earth, that is, connected to it. As well as the audio analyzer earth. So, I'll take the scope off. Back down where I was before, with the TLO 7.4. So that's not improved it in the slightest. No point testing it on the THD. I'm not going to get any better results. So I went through all that effort and waiting a week for a very posh opamp, and it's made no improvement to the circuit whatsoever. At least it hasn't made it any worse. I still think it's quite good though, for a homemade little circuit. Oh, what am I going to do with it? Am I ever going to get any better? Probably not. While I was waiting for the chip to come, various comments suggested that I needed to try different bulbs. 28 volt bulb, low current 28 volt bulb, but they're virtually impossible to find. I believe the bulb I've got is 12 volt, running at hardly any current at all. And I had another one, so I wired that in series. That didn't help either. Other suggestions were to change the current determined by this resistor, which I tried. Didn't help at all. That's the absolute optimum. I put a preset in. Didn't improve it. 330 ohms is ideal. Tried changing that with a preset 27k. Didn't help at all. So I've reached the limit now of what I think I can do. But no doubt somebody will have some suggestions for me, for something I can try. So let's put it back in its box. So it's back in its box, back on batteries, back up to the audio analyzer. It's doing exactly the same, 0.0010. So at least I tried anyway. What more can I say? At least I know now if I wanted to build any more, say if somebody wanted me to build them one, I wouldn't need to be buying expensive op amps, because they make no difference whatsoever. But again, I'd like to thank all the people that commented, and if you've got any other ideas, because I've run out now. I think I've reached the end of my tether for this project, but it is still very, very good, I think, for what it is. Certainly it's better than the internal source on the 8903, and a lot better than the one on the Keithley. So with that, I think I'll end this video and say thanks for watching, and welcome any comments. Bye for now.